This is the Northern Beaches, one of the most beautiful places to live in Australia. Carolyn Kelly and her husband Avner thought they had it all when they bought their dream house here in 2008. But the day they moved into their new home, Avner fell ill and was later diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer is the world's deadliest adult cancer. It's called the silent killer, since most of the 2,000 people diagnosed each year in Australia have been growing their tumours for 10 years.
And sadly, only 5% of those will be alive after 5 years. And most people will succumb to their disease between a year and 14 months, which is not very long.
Amber Johns, a project manager at the Garvan Institute, has dedicated her career to pancreatic cancer research. She says the survival rate for cancer's underdog hasn't changed in 40 years, largely because pancreatic cancer is underfunded and under-researched.
There has been very little, in Australia in particular, very little monetary input, so very little funding to get projects initiated.
But the determination of Carolyn and Avner is helping to change this. They started now the Avner Pancreatic Cancer Foundation in 2009, shortly after Avner was diagnosed.
It was set up as a research fund at that point, with just a group of people who met every month and came up with ideas on how to raise money. And our initial goal was to raise $1 million to fund a trial, which we achieved within 2 years. And once we reached that point, we knew that there was a life with this.
The foundation have since contributed more than $500,000 to the world-first Australian Pancreatic Cancer Genome Initiative at the Garvan Institute, part of the International Cancer Genome Consortium.
We were really excited when Caroline first came to Andrew and proposed partnering on funding some research, and it's a really powerful statement that Avner himself made about the difference between a long life and a painful death is research.
I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months.
Not even a billionaire genius could win the battle against pancreatic cancer.
In recent years, Patrick Swayze, Randy Pausch,
Our
Steve
favorite
Jobs.
dancer was diagnosed with pancreatic
Dirty Dancing
cancer
star
in
Patrick
2008.
Swayze
He didn't
is
let it
apparently
keep him down.
upbeat and responding well to
It is a grim day for Patrick Swayze. Ghost lost his fight against pancreatic cancer at 57.
No one wants to die.
One of the main problems with pancreatic cancer is a lack of public awareness. While many people are aware Steve Jobs and Patrick Swayze died of cancer, their stardom and personal struggles received the attention, not the disease.
Not too sure. I think he was just unhealthy or something.
Do you know what type of cancer?
No.
Bowel cancer, I think.
No, I just know he died of cancer. Pancreatic cancer? I don't know what that is.
The pancreas.
That area?
Yeah.
It's the very deadliness of the disease itself that contributes to this lack of awareness. Amber says there are too few survivors to bring the spotlight on the cancer and tell of their plight. Put simply, people die too quickly.
The rates of survival are so incredibly low that unfortunately we just don't have the teams of people that are left to really rally for the cause and to get behind the initiative and support it in the way that if you look at other cancers such as breast and prostate cancer, they've really been very lucky to have that. And that's changing, and with initiatives such as Avner's Fund.
What's made the foundation so successful is the emphasis on corporate money, and in particular help from Avner's former employer Woolworths and Coca-Cola Amatil. The foundation has 3 other directors with Carolyn acting as chair. Peter Hosking, who worked closely with Avner, is one of them.
You can do all the sausage sizzles in the world, and they're important. You can have walks and various other components to your fundraising activity. But the truth is, to get into significant funds, we see as critical. And we've learned from the fact that Woolworths' corporate involvement, Coca-Cola's corporate involvement, the involvement of our other partners through those relationships have helped us no end in actually building very, very quickly the funds that we have today.
Probably the most successful campaign to date has been the use of Coca-Cola's Deep Spring brand, sold in Woolworths supermarkets. The bottle's coloured purple for pancreatic cancer and aims to raise awareness of the disease, with a portion of the profits going to Avner's foundation. Warwick White, Managing Director of Coca-Cola Amatil, is another of the foundation's directors.
What I understood pretty clearly was that we weren't going to be able to do anything substantial unless we had money, to conduct research. And the best thing that I could do was try and raise money, and that's where the idea came up with using Deep Spring, and that's generating now, a couple of $100,000 a year towards the foundation.
Grant O'Brien, CEO of Woolworths Limited and Avner's closest friend, agrees.
We got involved mainly because of Avner himself. Avner had a career with Woolworths over 26 years, and because of the sort of character he was, he touched a lot of people, and a lot of people were moved to try and do something to help. Corporate involvement is really important if you're going to raise large amounts of money, or if your ambition is to raise large amounts of money. And I think that's where we thought that we could make a difference and influence others to also make contributions, large contributions.
The contribution by Coca-Cola Amatil and Woolworths is the driving force behind the Garvan Institute's research.
The goal ideally is to unravel the genetic changes in pancreatic cancer. So we're collecting tissue and blood samples from people around Australia who are undergoing treatment for pancreatic cancer and basically studying them to see the changes in DNA.
Amber says the research could also lead to earlier detection of the disease, which could be life-saving.
There may be a way to identify those that might be at high risk, those that might sort of exhibit particular symptoms that might mimic this. We might be able to use something like that for that. And that's another spin-off, I guess, to the research that we're doing, the genetic research, that it's all about damaged DNA. And we do know from other work that's been done internationally that most individuals are growing their cancer for about 10 years. So those molecular aberrations are there, we just can't find them.
But the research has so far had some very promising results.
We have already recruited 400 patients to the study, so that's been extremely successful. So out of that first 140 cancer genomes, we call them, so cancer signatures from 140 different people, we identified quite a lot of new cancer genes that had never been seen in pancreatic cancer before. Some of them have been seen in other cancers, and this is really going to give us some good leverage.
Unfortunately, the namesake of the Avner Narmani Foundation did not experience any of these benefits.
We moved in here in July 2007, and the day we moved in was when Avner first became visibly sick. He went to bed as soon as it was made up, and he, over the next couple of months, his health wasn't good. He had pneumonia, I think twice. We were actually told on the way home in the car, they called us and said it's inoperable pancreatic cancer.
The worried couple knew Avner had lesions on his liver and Googled what this meant before the biopsy results came through. They were confronted with horror stories, everything from a few weeks to maybe a year in a good situation. Despite this, Avner remained positive. He remarked that what was left of life suddenly sparkled.
Avner was always very practical, and he never said why him. He just thought it was random, and that's what happened.
But Avner was fighting a losing battle. He was given 3 types of chemotherapy during his treatment, when most patients are given 2 at the most.
But the pain was so bad, we just wanted to try whatever we thought could help, and it did help, but it was more intrusive again. He was basically hooked up to this pump continuously. He lost his hair, and within a couple of months it was becoming obvious that it wasn't working any further. So at that point, which was around September, the chemo stopped and it moves to more just kind of pain management.
Avner was he was a pretty complex character in a way. He had a number of gifts. First of all, he was much smarter than people that were first led to believe. I think he was a very intelligent man. He was a very loyal friend and very caring and looked after those that were close to him. But you know, as I said, he didn't have a lot of friends, but those that were lucky enough to have Avner as a friend had someone pretty special indeed.
And Avner was one of those people, when you met Avner, you never forgot Avner. He was just so charismatic, he was just so full of energy, he was just so real, so compelling, you just wanted to be around him. And while I didn't know Avner that well, on those couple of occasions that I did meet him, he had such an impact on me that I never forgot him.
I think the period of illness for Avner and the thinking that he and Caroline went through was nothing short of inspirational. Because the final time I saw Avner, again on his balcony, we chose, I guess, to talk more about nature. The dolphins that I'd seen that morning, and as you know, Avner is a keen photographer, so there's lots to talk about on that side. And at that stage of his illness, there was it was very difficult for him. He was obviously in a fair bit of pain, but his eyes were telling a story of still steely resolve to make sure something happened in this area.
The Foundation has held walks in Sydney since 2009 as its main community fundraiser. The walks have been so successful they've already been launched in Hobart and Melbourne and are expanding to Adelaide and Brisbane later this year.
So we hold a walk here at Palm Beach every year to raise funds for research and to show people who've been affected that they're not alone. Come here to Palm Beach and we walk down to the end of the beach down this way and do a circuit back up. It really helps with community awareness, which is an important thing. And more importantly, it's a very special place for Avner and I. It's where we used to come to walk to when he was diagnosed especially.
As the momentum grows, Carolyn has some new projects in mind. The Foundation's board is currently working through proposals for its night nursing pilot to help patients who wish to die at home. It's clear that despite their achievements so far, the board isn't close to packing up yet.
It's almost like a moral duty to continue with it because there is no other organisation doing this. We do have to be it. We do have to support patients and families in whatever way we can. So we do have to continue it. There's no going back.
And there's one motivation behind everything the Foundation works for.
I think he'd be blown away by it. He could never really understand the support that he didn't get to live to see much of the success that we've had, but he was quite overwhelmed by it, and I think he'd be quite stunned and amazed at how it's gone. People loved him.